Welcome students. Welcome to the second issue of or second part of childhood and adolescence. In this particular module, we will be discussing about the concept of child abuse, what are its various forms, and how do we identify children of any kind of an abuse, and what measures are to be taken in order to take care of the emotional and psychological requirements of victims of child abuse. So, let us now try to understand what is child abuse. Child abuse is basically when a child is being abused by a grown up in order to take care of, or in order to satisfy his or her own urges. So, child abuse can be of four types: physical child abuse, mental, emotional, sexual, and neglect. Now, let us try to understand each one of these different forms of child abuse. When you are talking about physical abuse, it means causing physical harm to the child, for example, kicking, punching, beating, hitting, or other forms of physical torture. The other important type of child abuse is the emotional abuse, which is also known as verbal, mental, or psychological maltreatment. It includes number of negative influences in the child's environment like insulting, rebuking, threatening, discriminating, ridiculing, belittling, etc. Now, you may feel that these are things which happen outside of the home. It's not. Many a times, all of these different forms of emotional abuse are happening right within the households of or within our neighborhoods. You must have seen parents discriminating between their children either on the basis of gender or on the basis of abilities or any other basis, or insulting the child without even realizing that it is one form of, or it is one of the recognized form of child abuse, or rebuking the children, or physically punishing the children, or threatening them. All of these are different forms of child abuse which many a times even the parents are not aware of. Then comes sexual abuse. It is basically engaging in inappropriate sexual behavior with a child which he or she cannot understand or is mentally or emotionally not prepared for, or he or she is not in a position to give an informed consent. It also includes using a child for sexual practices, prostitution, pornography, etc. Now we see that in the newspapers almost every second day we find instances of child abuse being reported, child being sexually assaulted, and not just sexually assaulted, even murdered, not just by strangers, even by their own family members or distant cousins or relatives, etc., etc. This is a concern which has been there in the recent times, and it is now the responsibilities of the educators to let the children understand these things, and also they should know how to take care of themselves. The fourth form of child abuse is neglect. It is deficit in meeting a child's basic need, including the failure to provide adequate health care, which is the right which comes within the purview of rights of the children, supervision, clothing, nutrition, housing, medical needs, educational or emotional or psychological needs. Now, neglect is also a very important, or you can say a very prominent form of child abuse. You may have come across instances reported in the newspaper that children have been left by their parents or caretakers, or parents are too busy with their own lives, that the children are, in many of the affluent schools, the so called very affluent schools, there have been instances where children have come to school having a fever of 103 degrees, 104 degrees, and parents, they do not know because they came home very late, they do not know that the child is having such a high fever. So, this is also a case of neglect. There have been cases in the newspapers which have stated that the children, there were 2 or 3 children which were found, and the father was there, the mother was dead, and the father was a drunkard, had absolutely no idea whether the children have taken their meals or how to take care of the children, and children were found extremely malnourished with maggots on their body. They had never been bathed or washed, and no meals were given to them. This is a case of absolute gross neglect. So these are the different kinds of abuse which children are subjected to on an everyday basis, and many a times even by their parents or caretakers, without them even having a slightest hint that all the atrocities which they are doing to their own children or somebody else's children, it comes under the purview of child abuse. Now, how do we identify children if they have been victims of any kind of child abuse? There are a number of indicators. So, we need to look out for any kind of unusual behavior which the child has started exhibiting. Too much of aggression all of a sudden, too much, if the child is too much withdrawn all of a sudden, that means something. So if the child has all of a sudden started taking money from home, theft at home, so maybe somebody is harassing the child for some of their own purposes, and the child is made to take out money from home. Rushing towards the toilet as soon as the child is home. Say the child is coming from the school, and as soon as the child gets home wants to go to the toilet without talking to anybody. So that means there may be something wrong. Not wanting to go by bus or insisting that the parents be with him or her. Initially when the children they start going to schools, they are reluctant, they cry a lot, but eventually they settle down. All of a sudden if a child says that I don't want to go by the school bus, or if I don't want to go to that relatives or that uncle or that auntie, that means something. The child is trying to say which he or she is not otherwise able to communicate. We have to look out for these things, that there must be something which is bothering the child. Not wanting to go home or school or playground or park or a particular relatives or a neighbor's place. Suddenly the child says I will not go to the park for playing with my friends. Why? I mean, all the children would want to go out and play. So if one child is not wanting to go out to a park, some particular place, that means there is somebody who is maybe abusing the child, or not, or harassing the child. All of a sudden child says I don't want to go to my school. That means there must be, or there may be somebody in the school who is abusing him or her. Staying aloof suddenly. So if there is a sudden withdrawal symptoms in the child, drop in the grades or disinterest in studies all of a sudden, or activities, all of a sudden the child doesn't want to talk to anybody, the child doesn't want to go out and play, child is stopped taking interest in studies, etc., etc. So these are some of the indicators. Sulking unnecessary, nervous at the sight of boys, girls, male or specific people. The child, if he or she is being abused by somebody, the child will all of a sudden develop a kind of a you can say fear from all of those people. Say for example a peon is abusing the child, so if one peon is doing that, the child may develop fear from all different peons. So if a child feels very threatened at the presence or physical nearness of any particular person, that means there might be something wrong. New friends suddenly, you find that a small child of 7 to 8 year old suddenly has friends of 15-16 year old. So that would also indicate something. Why would children who are 15, 16, 18 years old, why would they want to befriend somebody who is 7, 8, 9, 10 years old? So that may also, it needs to be looked into. Acting inappropriate with a toy or an object. So the way, if a child is being abused, say physically, sexually or emotionally, the child, when the acting out behaviors, the child may melt out the same treatment to one of his or her toys. So if the child all of a sudden starts behaving inappropriately with any of the toy, or starts beating up the toy or tearing up the toy, that would mean something. Having nightmares or sleeping problems all of a sudden. Turning clingy or withdrawn. The child does not want to let go of his or her parent or his or her siblings. So if all of a sudden these behaviors are there, we have to be watchful. Getting unusually secretive about everything. Child does not want to share, school mein kya hua, we don't know, I don't want to share, I don't want to tell, who are your friends. I mean, if the child does not want to tell about anything, whatever has happened at school or at playground, that means something. Okay. Undergoing personality changes or mood swings, bedwetting, unaccountable fear for a particular person. Say for example, the child develops certain fears for some persons, so that can be a cause for concern. All of a sudden learning about some new adult words, certain words which are not a part of a child's vocabulary, the child starts uttering those words, that means he or she is learning those words from somewhere else. So that can also be an indicator. Talking about a new older friend or getting unexplained gifts. So the child, the say somebody is wanting to abuse the child, will try to seduce the child, or will child to try to earn the respect or the confidence of the child, and in that process may try to give certain gifts to the child. So if those things are certain unexplained gifts are there, or the child all of a sudden starts saying, oh, such didi or bhaiya is very nice to me, is giving me gifts, is taking me out for ice creams or some other treats, so that can be a cause of concern. Causing self harm, the child is causing harm to himself or herself. Having unexplained injuries around genital areas or mouth. So, if there are certain injuries which the child does not want to talk about, or if the child is it gets very disturbed while talking about those things, that is a sure indication. And among all of these instances, we have to keep in mind the children with special needs, because children with special needs are more prone to being abused, because of their disabilities. They may or may not be even in a position to react, or you can say tell others. Some other indications are unexplained bruises, fractures, or bite marks. If the child is being abused, these can be there. Inappropriate clothing to cover up. Say, for example, in extreme of summers, the child is wearing clothes, full sleeved shirts, trousers, whereas all the other children are wearing knickers or something. That means the child is trying to cover up certain injuries or certain marks. Say in the extreme of winters, the child comes without any sweater or coat. That means there may be a case of neglect. Nobody is taking care whether the child is wearing appropriate clothes or not. Extreme behaviors, aggression, extreme withdrawal behavior, difficulty in walking or sitting. The way the child is walking is very different from the way the child normally walks. So, if the child is walking with great difficulty and is not explaining, or is not in a position to explain what has happened, this can be an indication. Torn or strained clothes, threatened by physical contact or nearness. Say, for example, even if the child, while teaching, the teacher comes and stands near to the child gets shaken up and is very disturbed and is not in a natural, you can say, natural behavior. That means that there is something which is bothering the child. Frequent absenteeism, stealing or begging for food. And it is not that these things happen only with children who are coming from the lower underprivileged backgrounds. It happens in the most affluent schools also. At times, if the parents are too busy or not bothered about children, it happens that children may come to the school without any food, or the parent may just give, okay, take this 100 rupees, 200 rupees, 1000, eat whatever. So these are cases of neglect. Unattended medical records, overtly concerned about their siblings. A child who is facing any kind of abuse may get very fearful about their siblings also. So, if a child has got a younger brother or a sister, the child may fear unnecessary and obsessively about his or her younger sibling. Poor self-esteem, self-devaluation, lack of involvement. Now, but what happens in these cases of abuse is, many a times children tend to think like that, ki whatever is happening is their own fault, and children need to have proper counseling in order to make them understand that it is not their fault. They need to understand this thing, because the perpetrators of the crime, they generally make the child believe that they are calling for it, or it is their responsibility and they are responsible for it. So it requires efforts on the part of you can say the parents or the teachers to make the child come out of it. Hysteria, lack of self control. The child starts acting hysterically. Some very small incident has happened which is very okay, and other children are quite okay, and this one child is acting hysterically and is unable to control his or her behavior, is unable to control his or her weeping. That means something kuch ho sakta hai. So now in all of these cases, say somebody if we have identified that there might be some problem with the child, now what is to be done? So what action needs to be taken? The first and the foremost, no branding or labeling of the child. Oh, that child who was physically assaulted. No, this branding or labeling is not to be done at all. Focus on the maximizing of the residual potential. So child is having some kind of a problem at present, but that does not mean that the child is not capable of doing anything else. So focus on the residual or maximizing the residual potential. That means whatever is left has to be there. Let the child, if the child is not in a position to take care of academic activities, let the child by during the time he or she is coping up, indulge in some other activities. So it's basically focusing on whatever the child can focus on at present, so that child eventually comes out of it. Sensitization of other children, the other children can at times be very cruel, so children have to be sensitized that this is something which can happen to anybody. So we have to be very you can say encouraging and motivating for our own peer group. So it is basically instilling feelings of empathy among other children. And on the school's part, yes, a committee including a counselor, senior teachers, parents, managers with some powers and some students to be formed to look into issues from time to time. Now why did I say managers with some powers? So that if say some instances are happening, because it may so happen that children who are coming from very strong politically or say strong backgrounds, they may feel that they can do anything. So managers with powers, so that they can take appropriate action against anybody who has done any kind of a wrong thing. So if a child say, okay, my say parents or my relatives are in the managing committee of this particular school, so I can do anything. So that should not be the case. So irrespective of whatever or whoever the person is, action needs to be taken. Admission forms to include the details for identifying any kind of deficiencies or problems. So children, as we have already discussed, children with special needs are more prone to getting abused. So admission forms should call out for any kind of problems or deficiencies which may have happened with the children at the time of birth, at the time of the mother's pregnancy or thereafter. All of those details need to be included. Sensitization of parents, teachers and students need to be there. Counseling programs should be there in the school, and orientation programs for parents at regular intervals should be there. Now in case of a physical or a sexual assault, what should be the role of a school? Being with the child, the first and the foremost. The child needs to be assured that yes, we are there with you, we are not against you. Even if something has happened within the premises of the child, many of the schools, they have this tendency to back out. This is none of our concern, nothing has happened in the school cannot take responsibility. No, the onus is on the school to take on responsibility, being with the child, let the child know, okay, yes, we are there for you, reassuring that this is not his or her fault. Listening to the, obviously if some such a thing has happened, the parents are going to be very angry about it. So listening to the parents patiently, which is required. If the schools do not listen to the parents, things may even turn uglier. So listening is very important. It is, you can say, it can lead to catharsis, because it is very important. Let the parents vent out. That is important. Consulting a trusted doctor and a counselor, asking the parents what is it that they want to do. Don't tell them, or not telling them that the case should not be reported to the police, and reassuring them that this is not going to happen in future. Instead, in fact, the school should be the first person to be contacting the police, and the case should be reported rather than the parents taking the initiative. If the school has taken adequate measures and precautions to ensure that these things do not happen, but of course, the school or nobody can take guarantee for anybody's behavior. So it should be the responsibility of the school to take it this thing, that they should be the first ones to be reporting to the police. Now, all of these things do happen, they keep on happening. Now, what is it that we as teachers can do so that these incidents do not happen at all? So, taking you can say the remedial action is important, yes, but what needs to be done so that there are no such cases? So we are talking of proactive measures. What proactive measures can school and teachers take? The first and the foremost is life skill education. As we had discussed that life skills are very important for each and every child. A child may be academically very poor, does not matter, but if the child has inculcated good life skills are divided into three categories, that is the mental skills, the emotional skills and social skills. and CBSE has given a list of 10 skills which are included under the life skills, which are basically classified under these three broad categories. Working on all of these life skills which are very important for each and every child, and focusing on resilience, bouncing back. How do you bounce back from anything or whatever has happened? That is extremely important. Life goes on. It is important for the children to understand that no matter what happens, it is important, or it is good to be moving on. The other thing is moral and ethical education, to be imparted through ethical practices, role models, and cooperative activities, tackling bullying and bullies. Now, we do talk of moral education in the schools, but what kind of moral or ethical education? Having a separate period for every class every week, will it suffice? No, these things are not considered to be good enough. It's basically, ethics are not, you can say, they are not learned by preaching, they are learned, they are imbibed from the environment that is around children. So if the school is practicing all kind of unethical values but they are talking of ethics, it does not make sense. Or the teachers who are actually teaching them, they themselves are not following ethical practices, it does not make sense. If the parents, they are talking of values but they are themselves not following them, it does not make sense for the children. So an environment in which all the ethical and moral values are actually followed by others, so these practices will only help the children in imbibing those moral and ethical values. The children also, very important, children must know that there is help available. Even if the children get to know कि okay, we are being abused, we are being utilized by somebody in a very bad manner, they do not know what to do. So making the children aware that if anything, any of such thing is happening, you need to go to this person, you need to do this. Those line of action should be very clear in the minds of the children. So that is very important. Never challenge a child into a drastic step. So at times it so happens that teachers say, okay, I mean, they do not believe the child, oh, this has happened, go and do something, something like that. So it happens, and children at times can take some drastic steps. Self-fulfilling prophecies. When at times parents as well as teachers, they when they are not happy with children, they can come out with statements like, I know that you are good for nothing, you can do nothing, you will never be able to do anything or achieve anything in life. And the child, if a child keeps on hearing these things over and over again from multiple sources, say from teachers also, from parents also, the child will come to believe that okay, I am good for nothing, I cannot do anything, and therefore I should not do anything in life. So, and then the child does not do anything, and the teacher says, see, I told you that you can do nothing. So these are known as self-fulfilling prophecies. Catching one positive action. The teachers as well as the parents, they have to be on the lookout for positive action, catching the positive action, encouraging the child, motivating the child to do things in future, and separating the child from the behavior. This is very important, and this is one of the foremost principles of counseling also. A person is comprised of number of behaviors, positive as well as negative. A child who has, say, has stolen something in the class is not a thief. You cannot brand or label them that this child is a thief. Okay, the child is there, has done one negative action, that is, has stolen something from somebody, but that does not define the entire child. So we need to distinguish between the child as a person and his or her positive or negative behaviors. A child who has done one positive action does not become that particular thing. All children at some point of the time or the other, they would have done some positive things, they would have done some negative things. So they do not define the child. The teachers need to understand that. So one bad action on the part of the child does not make the child that. Say if one child has bullied somebody in the class, that does not make the child a bully. So we are not supposed to be branding or labeling the child. Grades are considered as rewards or punishments. So grades are not to be considered. Say we have seen the teachers saying that, okay, if you do not do this, I will deduct 2 marks, or I will not give you good marks in your internal assessments. So these are not considered. These are not threat, or tests or marks or grades should not be considered as, threatening agents. And effective and anger management skills. So these are some of the proactive measures which can be taken by the school in order to ensure that children develop into wholesome human beings. Now, the basic bottom line is, each and every child needs to feel good about himself or herself. Each and every child needs to feel success and feel happy, and that is how we can ensure that children will grow up into happy beings. Thank you so much.